সবাইকে আমন্ত্রণ ইউএস এমবাসি ঢাকা এবং দেশ টিভির বিশেষ আয়োজন আ কনভারসেশন উইথ বাংলাদেশ বাংলাদেশের সাথে আড্ডা অনুষ্ঠানে। আপনারা যারা আমাদের অনুষ্ঠান দেখেন তারা জানেন প্রতি মাসে আমরা বাংলাদেশের তরুণদের সাথে আড্ডা দেই বিভিন্ন ইস্যু নিয়ে। আজকে আমাদের সাথে আছেন একজন আমেরিকান বাংলাদেশি সামাজিক উদ্যোক্তা, যিনি আমেরিকাতে তার বিভিন্ন উদ্যোগ নিয়ে ভীষণভাবে প্রশংসিত হয়েছেন, এমনকি আমেরিকার বিভিন্ন টিভি চ্যানেলে তার ইন্টারভিউ প্রকাশ হয়েছে। আমাদের সাথে আজকে আছেন Adnan Mahmud. Adnan bhai, thank you for coming to our show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. আর এছাড়াও আমাদের সাথে আছেন আরো দুজন তরুণ বাংলাদেশি সামাজিক উদ্যোক্তা। পরিচয় করে দিচ্ছি সাজিদ ইকবাল, যিনি লিডার অফ দ্য লাইট বাংলাদেশের প্রেসিডেন্ট, আর আরো আছেন সুনেরা সাবা খান, প্রেসিডেন্ট উইমেন কেয়ার বাংলাদেশ। আমি শিওর যে আমরা খুব এক্সাইটিং একটা আড্ডা দিব। তিনজন সামাজিক উদ্যোক্তা আছেন। আদনান ভাই, প্রথমে আপনার কাছে যাব। আপনার জলকোনা, আপনার যে প্রজেক্ট, সেটা নিয়ে আমাদের কিছু বলুন।
জলকোনা আমি শুরু করি 3 বছর আগে. So it started, actually the inspiration came from Bangladesh 5 years ago. আমি মাইক্রোসফটে কাজ করছিলাম তখন in America. আমি দেশে আসছি বাবা মার সাথে দেখা করতে, and I came across a father who could not afford to give his 8-year-old son a proper burial. So that really shook me. আমার জন্ম দেশে বাংলাদেশে. I spent most of my years in Bangladesh. So in my life, I had seen a lot of poverty, I'd seen a lot of corruption, I'd seen a lot of problems. But I think I'd seen so much of it that I'd become numb to it, seeing it all the time. The when I saw this father, it really stopped me on my tracks and really made me question about what that idea I'm pursuing a career at Microsoft, the American corporate world, versus here's this father who had to bear the pain of bearing his son, but he couldn't even do that properly.
The big social difference.
Yeah, exactly. So what happened was I started thinking about this and if there's anything I can do to help, and started looking actively for ways to help. And I started looking around. What are some of the challenges, and why did I not help that father? And the biggest problem I found is that I have the same problem as a lot of my peers do, which is if you're a young person, especially if you're a young person living in America, a young professional like I was, you don't give a lot of money. And karon hocche je you don't trust the system. You don't know where the money is going, and so you don't end up giving a lot of money. So I wanted to change that.
আপনার প্রথম প্রজেক্টটা কি ছিল?
So আমার প্রথম প্রজেক্ট ছিল যখন শুরু করার সময়. It started with us 4 projects. One of them was in Bangladesh. আমাদের ব্র্যাকের সাথে পার্টনারশিপ ছিল at Brack Limb and Braces Center, Mohammadpure. So that was one of our first 4 projects. You give $200, and they would use that $200 to provide a limb to one person, and in return they will send the donor a photo, 2 photos, before and after, of the person who got that limb. That was the inspiration. That was how we started. And then today, it's been 3 years since our launch. So I'm শুরু করেছিলাম 4টা project দিয়ে. এখন আছে আমাদের Desh project in over 50 countries. And in 3 years, we have distributed over $500,000 in donations, and each donation is like $5, $10 amounts.
Excellent. Our namta Jolkona is quite interesting. Why did you pick that name?
So it came from, it's a Bangla word obviously. Jolkona, drop of water. And the idea is, with millions of donations, we expect to have a ripple effect of change go through the sector.
Okay, I've visited the website of Jolkona, and I was very impressed and touched. And on seeing the website, the first thing that came to my mind was a poem I had read in my childhood. It was something like this: little drops of water, little grains of sand, make the mighty ocean and the pleasant land. So I think the same philosophy is behind Jolkona. And what I liked most about Jolkona is, like, if you want to contribute to society, you don't have to wait to become old. You can start young. So that was very encouraging.
And that's exactly the goal for us, to go inspire people to start getting involved early in giving. One of our best donors is a 32-year-old man from Switzerland I've never met him in my life. And every 2 weeks, he comes to our website and donates. And the reason he comes every 2 weeks is because he gets a paycheck every 2 weeks. So we can, almost like an alarm clock, guess it's time for him to come. And he shows up on the website and makes a donation. Our সবচেয়ে কম বয়সী donor is an 8-year-old boy.
So Adnan bhai, you are doing a great job with Jolkona, and Jolkona is a very successful and active online platform which links up the potential initiatives with our donors. So I would like to ask you one thing, that I have heard from someone that publishing the initiatives in Jolkona website is a bit complex because we have to qualify some process, we have to qualify some certification process. So do you have anything in your mind? You will come up with some ideas to make it more user-friendly for the case of Bangladesh, so that more youths will be involved in Jolkona's website.
Let me answer this 2 ways. আগে বলি যে কেন it's tough. এর কারণ আছে, কারণ হচ্ছে যে যখন আমাদের ওয়েবসাইটে ভিজিটররা আসে, they want to be confident that these are good projects. They want to be confident যে এগুলিকে proof করা হয়েছে, they've been vetted. So in order to provide that confidence, we need to do the check. এখন যখন চেক করব, আমাদের এখন it's a very small organization. Still, it's a very small organization. So we have to try to be efficient in our processes. তোর মধ্যে একটা হচ্ছে যে যখন চেক করা, it's much easier to check organizations যেগুলি আমেরিকাতে রেজিস্টার করা। So ওই জন্য এখন we have a requirement that you have to be registered in the US. Doesn't matter where you work in the world, but Americate you have to be registered as a non-profit. That's one of the requirements. এবং that one reason is what causes a lot of hardship for a lot of great projects around the world who we want to partner with. They're great, but we have a little bit of difficulty. আমরা এখন দেখছি যে এটাকে কিভাবে আরো একটু সহজ করা যায়. We're looking at the thing we don't want to change is the confidence level of the user, right? So what are the things we can do without bringing down the confidence bar from the user side? So দেখছি কিভাবে করা যায়. একটা হতে পারে যে আমেরিকাতে there are some fiscal sponsor organizations. So we can try connecting, partnering with them. যে কেউ যে বাংলাদেশ থেকে অ্যাপ্লাই করতে চায়, আমেরিকাতে রেজিস্ট্রেশন নাই, they can get sponsored by the fiscal sponsorship organization.
Why don't you open one center of Jolkona in Bangladesh? So
that's a very good thought, and you're a American Bangladeshi, so you have this responsibility.
And that Jolkona will look after the projects in Bangladesh, and they will subscribe to the Bangladeshi Jolkona site. What do you think about it?
That's a very, very interesting idea. It's something that I'm looking into, and the whole team is looking into very seriously right now.
We hope from Bangladeshi youth that you will come up with this idea very soon.
Yes, so I mean, while I'm in Bangladesh in this trip, I'm talking to a few people, trying to see if that's possible. We have been approached by the State Department in the US to see if we can figure out a way to approach this problem. No promises, but the only thing I can promise is this is very center of one of our issues we're tackling, and I hope that very soon we'll have a solution one way or another.
Yeah, we all hope. And Adnan bhai, as you mentioned about raising fund, and raising fund is not easy at all, be it in US or Bangladesh. Sunera, তুমি বাংলাদেশে বিভিন্ন সামাজিক উদ্যোগ নিয়ে কাজ করছো. How hard do you find? কত কঠিন ডোনারদের এনকারেজ করা?
So when it comes to giving funds, people don't easily want to give it. You have to convince them. And like I personally want to start my own social business. For that, I was lucky enough to get a grant from the American Center in setting it up. And I've talked to a few business people, like those who have garment factories and all. And my plan was initially to set up a healthcare center for the underprivileged garment workers in Bangladesh. But now to make my plan more feasible and doable, I've slightly modified my plan. And now I will be going with the mobile team to the factory premises where the garment workers work, and I will be providing the service there. My mobile team will consist of doctors from different medical colleges, like students from different medical colleges in Bangladesh, and also like professional doctors, preferably gynecologists, and we'll be going there on a regular basis, and we'll be providing treatment to the garment workers, as well as we'll be holding regular workshops, healthcare campaigns in order to create awareness. And for this, I've talked to the factory owners. At first, it was very difficult to convince them in order to, provide the factory premises for treatment. And then I've talked to a few factory owners, and they've agreed to provide me funds from their corporate social responsibility. So, but I had a hard time convincing.
দর্শক, আড্ডা দিতে দিতে বিরতির সময় হলো। ফিরছি কিছুক্ষণের মধ্যেই। সবাই দেখছেন আ কনভারসেশন উইথ বাংলাদেশ, বাংলাদেশের সাথে আড্ডা অনুষ্ঠান। সাজিদ আমাদের ইয়াং সোশ্যাল বিজনেস নিয়ে কাজ করছো। সাজিদ, তোমার প্রজেক্ট ভেরি ইন্টারেস্টিং। আমরা শোয়ের আগে কথা বলছিলাম, মেবি দর্শকদের উদ্দেশ্যে তুমি যদি শেয়ার করো আরেকবার।
হ্যাঁ, এটা হচ্ছে আমাদের মেইন অ্যাক্টিভিটি হচ্ছে আমরা বটল লাইট, আমাদের সোলার বটল লাইট আমরা ইনস্টল করি স্লাম হাউস হোল্ডসে। কারণ ওদের ওখানে ঠিকমতো সূর্যের আলো ঢুকতে পারে না, তো দিনের বেলা দেখা যাচ্ছে যে ওরা প্রচুর ইলেকট্রিসিটি মিসইউজ করছে ইলিগাল ইলেকট্রিসিটি লাইন দিয়ে। তো ওখান থেকে আমার মেইন বিজনেস পয়েন্টটা আসে যে আমরা কিভাবে তাহলে এই সোশ্যাল বিজনেসের ফ্রেমওয়ার্কে বটল লাইট মুভমেন্টটা স্টার্ট করতে পারি।
আর বটল লাইটটা এক্স্যাক্টলি কি?
আচ্ছা, বটল লাইটটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে 2 লিটারের একটা প্লাস্টিক বটল ইউজ করা হয় লাইটিং পারপাজে, যেখানে আপনার পানি আর ক্লোরিন ভরা থাকে, এবং ওইটা আমাদের টিন ফুটো করে আমরা ওখানে লাগিয়ে দিই, আর আমরা এনশিওর করি যে ওখান দিয়ে যেন কোনো রকম পানি লিক না করে। এটা বিভিন্ন প্রসেসিং এর মাধ্যমে তৈরি করা হয়। আর বটল লাইটটা মেইনলি ফার্স্ট ইউজ হয়েছিল আপনার ফিলিপিন্সে। আপনার ফিলিপিন্স থেকে এটা ডেভেলপ হয়েছিল। তো ফিলিপিন্সে যে অর্গানাইজেশনটা আছে ওটার নাম লিটার অফ লাইট। তো লিটার অফ লাইট ওদের অ্যাক্টিভিটিস মোট আপনার 11টা দেশে আছে। 11টা দেশে আছে, এবং আমরা রিসেন্টলি ওদের গ্লোবাল পার্টনারশিপটা পেয়েছি, লিটার অফ লাইট বাংলাদেশ পার্টনারশিপ। তো ওরা আমাদের যত রকম কাজ আছে ওগুলাতে ওরা সাপোর্ট দিবে, এবং আমাদের কাজগুলোকে ওরা গ্লোবাল নেটওয়ার্কে পাবলিশ করবে মোর পাবলিকেশনসের জন্য, পপুলারিটির জন্য। তো এইভাবে করেই আমাদের কাজটা শুরু হচ্ছে। আর সোশ্যাল বিজনেসের যে ফ্রেমওয়ার্কটা আমরা মানে ফলো করতে চাচ্ছি, তো এটা হচ্ছে কি সোশ্যাল বিজনেসটা এখনো খুব র ফর্মে আছে, খুবই প্রাইমারি লেভেলে আছে। তো এটা নিয়ে আমরা নিজেরা ইউথরা ইনভলভ হয়ে আরো আমরা এটার উপরে রিসার্চ করে সোশ্যাল বিজনেসকে কংক্রিট একটা
আস্তে আস্তে আরো ডেভেলপ করবে কনসেপ্টটা। হ্যাঁ, থ্যাংক ইউ সাজিদ। আদনান ভাই, ও সোশ্যাল বিজনেসের কথা বলছিল, এখনো সেভাবে পপুলারাইজড হয়নি গ্লোবালি। আমেরিকাতে ইউথরা কি করছে সোশ্যাল বিজনেস নিয়ে, বা ওভারঅল কোম্পানিগুলো? অনেক সময় সোশ্যাল বিজনেস এবং সিএসআর মিলে ফেলা হয় কনসেপ্টটাকে। আপনার কমেন্ট শুনতে চাচ্ছি এই ব্যাপারে।
So social business, as you said, it's right that America, like the rest of the world, it's still very, very nascent, and it's still very early. There are a lot of different models for people to try on. So এখন যেটা দেখছি, like especially on the young people, especially after the economic downturn in 2008, a lot of people are looking at social business as a new way of running businesses. CSR is very popular. Like about 2 years ago, I think, when the huge oil spill happened in the Gulf, BP spent billions of dollars trying to recover the area. So this is all CSR, right? Our other company, when I used to work at Microsoft, Bachare, they give $100 million in donations, employees, corporate donations, etc., all under CSR. Chahan America bola hoy je CSR is good business, right? So a lot of companies is focused on making sure that they're not just making profit, but they're also giving back to the communities where they work, right? So a multinational company like Microsoft or America te kaj kore in the community, and they work in communities all around the world. Jehan tade business ache. So CSR is great. And then with the economic downturn, a lot of new entrepreneurs are coming up. They're looking at new social models, social business models, to provide employment to the local communities, and at the same time build products and services which are viable businesses. So it's very, very popular. I mean, last week, or this week actually, I was in Indonesia, and I saw the same thing. There's a lot of interest amongst the youth to not just look for a job, but look to build businesses.
নিজেদের একটা উদ্যোগ নেওয়া, নিজেদের কিছু করা।
Do it yourself. And some of them are building businesses, some of them are building social businesses, and those two worlds they're merging very fast.
অ্যাবসলিউটলি এবং বাংলাদেশের ইউথরাই শুধুমাত্র চাকরি করার মেন্টালিটি থেকে অনেক বেরিয়ে এসছে। সুনেরা, তোমার প্রবাবলি কোয়েশ্চেনটা থাকবে যে তুমি একজন ইয়াং সোশ্যাল এন্টারপ্রেনার, যে হাউ ডু ইউ রেইজ ফান্ড? তো বেসিক্যালি
So Adnan bhai, supposing a young Bangladeshi wants to set up a social business in Bangladesh, how would the person proceed? Like, what steps would they have to go through?
So maybe I can flip the question first and ask you, what do you think is available to them today? Because you're starting a business yourself, or social business with Women Care Bangladesh. So where are the sources that's available to you today? And then maybe I can give you some ideas outside of that.
Well, actually my one was, I got the fund through a competition and all, so that source is available. Apart from that, like bank loans are very difficult. Personal finance could be an option, but that's also hard, so.
So here I want to add some points, like for social business, starting a social business, we don't need the donation, but we need to arrange our initial investment. So in our case, like Sunera and we both won a award from Social Business South Asian Youth Leaders Summit arranged by SAIS, and we got the initial investment from the awarded money. But for other cases, it's quite hard to manage all the funds for the social business to start their business. So what do you want to add and to comment on this point, that how we can use Jolkona's website for the social business? Do you have any points, like you will open a social business option for that, for the initial investment?
I think like Sajid is stubborn, and he would make you to open Jolkona website
before the show
specialized
is
for
over.
Bangladesh. Yes.
Now, so let me answer it. Let me come back from a more general option now, and I'll get to the Jolkona side. So you're absolutely right. Those are the obvious sources: competition, personal finances, and then bank loans. So bank loans are tough. Bank loans are tough if you're a non-profit organization anywhere in the world. Bank loans are tough because banks, like, you're not going to make any money. How do I get my money back, right? So it doesn't make any. So needless to say, bank loans are really, really tough. Competitions are okay. If you have a good idea, then competitions are really easy. Family and friends, I think, is super important. I think it serves two reasons. One is, obviously, it's the easiest money. They want to see you succeed, so they will support you more than the idea, right? Because they love you and they want to be proud of you and the work you're doing. But the other thing that the family and friends do, especially if they're very supportive and they want what's good for you, is they can be your first sort of critiques of your idea. They can tell you if your idea will work. Right? They can share some feedback, and then you can take that and modify it further. The other general things you could look at is, obviously, once you go to family and friends, go to the second degree, right? So their family and friends. Because, again, if family members of yours supports you, they can go to their friends and say, I support them, and I'd like you to support them. Another place you can go to is other specific, like, companies or people who have CSR, right? So we're talking before the show, CSR is coming up a little bit in Bangladesh now amongst the corporate culture, so you can go to them and talk to them and say, hey, will you support us? The thing with that, I think the challenge is you have to make sure you can communicate with the company যে তোমার মিশন, তোমার অর্গানাইজেশন যে মিশন, এটা কোম্পানি মিশনের সাথে অ্যালাইন করে।
একটা ভালো হোমওয়ার্ক থাকতে হবে, পার্টিকুলারলি ওর অর্গানাইজেশন আর যেই কোম্পানির কাছে।
Exactly, there has to be a link. There has to be a link. Again, it's a great exercise because it makes you think about one company kaaj ki, right? Because you can't just ask every company in the world, and you shouldn't ask every company in the world for money. So I would say that's another place to go to, is the CSR departments in companies. And then the other place I would say is it's not hard capital, it's soft capital, but it's very useful capital, which is volunteers. You have to do the work. The work has to get done, right? Either you pay someone to get the work done, or someone does it because they're passionate about it and they love the mission, they believe in the mission. If you can get some volunteers who are committed to it, that's great. আমাদের যখন Jolkona শুরু করি, I had my job at Microsoft. আমি Microsoft কাজ করতাম till 6-7 p.m. বাসায় এসে dinner 1 ঘন্টা, and I start work on Jolkona. 1.5 বছর থেকে 18 months, 18 মাস পর্যন্ত. That's the model. The organization's home was my kitchen. Office was my kitchen. এমন সময় গেছে, like সপ্তাহ পর সপ্তাহ, I had 4 hours of sleep a night. Right? But আমাদের team was a lot of volunteers who are really, really, really committed. Right? এখন Jolkonate, like I'm a volunteer now, and it's led by the other co-founder. She's paid. She has a team of 4 paid people, and then they have a support team of more than 20 volunteers. Right? যখন আমেরিকার সব অফিস বন্ধ হয় সন্ধ্যা 5টার সময়, Jolkona's office starts, because that's when the volunteers come in, and that's when most of the work gets done. So I would say you should definitely look at volunteers, because they will take you so far. It's unimaginable how far they will take you.
They're the heart of the organization. দর্শক, বিরতি নেব একটা, সাথেই থাকুন, ফিরছি কিছুক্ষণের মধ্যেই। দেখছেন আ কনভারসেশন উইথ বাংলাদেশ, বাংলাদেশের সাথে আড্ডা অনুষ্ঠান। কথা বলছি 3 জন বাংলাদেশি তরুণ সামাজিক উদ্যোক্তার সাথে। আদনান ভাই, the social structure in US and in Bangladesh is quite different. So someone like Sunera starting social initiatives, especially with the garment workers, that's you face many obstacles, I'm sure. Maybe you can share with us.
Yes, at first convincing the owners is difficult because they have to let them go out of work and then take the healthcare services, and then secondly we have to convince the customers, because these people they're more focused on work and they don't really care that much about themselves. That's why they don't take the healthcare services. And in Bangladesh we have these problems, like if they go to the government hospitals, they lose a day's work because of the long queues they have to wait in, and there's no guarantee that they'll get the right treatment. That's why I started my initiative and thought I might contribute by providing them some healthcare services, because these workers, they work so hard and they contribute so much to our GDP. So I thought it would be good.
And also, like, there's this other side of this story. Sajid, maybe you can share your story, that how the underprivileged are not ready to take up the service.
Yeah, because at first I went with the trial basic project in the slums to see that what's the social acceptance of the bottle lights in slum areas. We have installed 10 bottles in slum areas to see that how they react and how they actually bring out the whole initiatives. And some of them has complained me that they don't want the bottle anymore because they feel more poor to install the bottles in their roof. So this kind of like diversified things come out with challenges in different societies. So we have to cope up with this idea. So after that, we were in a great trouble that what will we do now? How will we start our business? Then we came up with the idea of reshaping the bottles into new designs so that it will increase
so that it look like a product.
Yeah, it look like a product. It looks like a bottle light.
Adnan bhai, you have mentioned about volunteers. তোমাদের এক্সপেরিয়েন্স কি বলে? আর বাংলাদেশি ইউথ রেডি টু ভলান্টিয়ার? তোমরা কি অনেক সাড়া পাও বাংলাদেশের তরুণদের থেকে?
Because I've talked to medical college students and they're my friends and they're willing to volunteer. They want to provide the service because they're studying medicine, and this can also count as an experience for them. So, and I have some friends who study pharmacy. They've agreed to, help me with the healthcare campaigns, create awareness. So yes, there are a lot of volunteers.
মানে এখন যেটা আমাদের এই নতুন প্রজন্ম যেটা দেখা যাচ্ছে, যে তা সবাই এখন শুধু লেখাপড়া নিয়ে ব্যস্ত না, মানে সবাই চাচ্ছে যে কন্ট্রিবিউট করতে, সোসাইটিতে একটা চেঞ্জ আনতে। এই যে আমাদের মধ্যে যে ডিসক্রিমিনেশনটা আছে, সবাই চাচ্ছে এটা ওভারকাম করতে, কারণ আর কত এরকম দেখা যাবে যে এরকম তো আমার ফ্রেন্ডসরা যতজন আছে দেখা যাচ্ছে যে সবার মধ্যে বেশিরভাগই বিভিন্ন ইউথ ইনভলভমেন্টের সঙ্গে জড়িত, ইউথ অর্গানাইজেশনের সাথে, voluntary based. Even when we have started our organization, many people came up for their volunteer service. So these are the positive feedback from our youth generation, and I hope one day Bangladesh will be in a developed stage with their support.
But that's the question, right? That's the question in front of the youth, and I think it's universal. It's not a Bangladesh issue. It's not an American issue. It's a world issue. A প্রজন্মের লোকরা from all around the world, they want change, right? They see issues in their community, in their village, in their cities, and they're looking and wanting for things to be different. So that's where, like, I think they look at people like Sajid and Sunera. They're the leaders. Tell us how we can help and contribute, right? And so I'm not surprised at all. I think it's a global trend.
আদনান ভাই, আপনি একজন আমেরিকান বাংলাদেশী এবং আমরা জানি যে প্রায় 1.5 লাখের বেশি বাংলাদেশি আমেরিকান আছে। তারা কিভাবে আপনাকে হেল্প করছে? তারা কি এগিয়ে আসছে?
নিশ্চয়ই। আমাদের সিয়াটলে it's a big Bangladeshi community. I think Microsoft alone has 80-90 people, employees, then their families and extended families and everyone. আমরা যখন প্রথম শুরু করি জলকোনা 3 বছর আগে, তখন আমি মাইক্রোসফটে প্রতি অক্টোবর মাসে they have a giving campaign. যখন এমপ্লয়িজরা they can decide where to donate money to which organizations. অনেক অনুষ্ঠান হয় পুরো মাইক্রোসফট ক্যাম্পাসে in the month of October. তো তখন বাংলাদেশিরা যে মাইক্রোসফট কাজ করে, they did a lunch, they call it the giving lunch. So বাঙালিরা আমরা সবাই মিলে রান্না করে we come to the cafeteria, we sell Bangladeshi food. And you pay a little bit extra for Bangladeshi food instead of normal cafeteria food. And the money that they raised, they gave to Jolkona that year. But they didn't give to Jolkona for our operations, they gave it to the Brack Limb and Braces Center. And then they saw the feedback from the organization, they loved the photos, they believed in the model, and then the rest is, as they say, is history. So that was the one simple example of Amal Shahore, how the Bengali community got behind this organization. There are a few people, Proti Mashe, they regularly now give money to Jolkona, who are Bangladeshis, and they've come to trust the system, come to believe in it. And many of them are very young professionals.
And Sunera, you went to the United States on a program sponsored by U.S. Department of State. So how was your experience as a Bangladeshi? And that was your first time?
Yes,
I guess.
it was my
So
first time.
how was United States?
Oh, United States was great. I had a great experience there, and I enjoyed every bit of my stay there. And the program was actually the study of the United States Institute's more commonly known as SUSI program on new media and journalism. And there I learned about the different tools of new media. We had a hands-on approach on the tools of new media, as well as we did community service, visited the different states of the United States like San Francisco, Texas, and Washington, D.C. Then during the weekends, we had a lot of activities, and it was full of fun. And a part of the program included a homestay with an American family. So this experience was like an eye-opener for me, and we got to know about their culture, shared my own culture. And this program was hosted by the University of Oklahoma, Gaylord College of Journalism and Mass Communication. And at that university, I met some Bangladeshis, and there's a Bangladeshi community there, and a young couple who's studying there during their PhD there. They invited us for dinner, and they also invited the Bangladeshi community there for dinner also, so we interacted, and it was great.
Adnan bhai, how can the Bangladeshi community in the United States help people like Sunera and Sajid? Like, is there any way we can bridge the gap, or maybe you can come forward, take an initiative?
So this goes back to the original question of what's Jolkona doing to help. And I think what we have seen is more and more in the recent time, people from around America, Bangladeshi people coming to Jolkona, maybe because of the name, but maybe because they've heard about us, and asking us, I want to help Bangladesh. Ami ki korte pari? And it breaks our heart because আমাদের ওয়েবসাইটে out of the 150 maybe there's like 3 or 4 yeah Bangladeshi project, right? And there's so much great work happening in this country, right? You have the two people right here doing really, really good work. And outside of this room, there are so many other people, young people doing great work. Every one of them is a great story waiting to be told. But there is no way to get that story from here to the rest of the world, at least not right now. So this, as I said, this is why we are really looking into like how can we help. But I think when people come to us, we try to direct them to organizations that we have heard about and tell them that, hey, if you're willing to take a bit of a risk, right, and you don't necessarily want them to only be a registered U.S. organization, then there are some other organizations that we personally know about that you may want to look into. But I think in a more of a mass scale, I think there's a lot of opportunity to bridge that gap, and I think the time is right for someone or some group of people to come together and form that bridge.
দর্শক বিরতি আরো একবার কনভারসেশন উইথ বাংলাদেশ বাংলাদেশের সাথে আড্ডা অনুষ্ঠানে দেশের সাথেই থাকুন। স্বাগত আরেকবার কনভারসেশন উইথ বাংলাদেশ বাংলাদেশের সাথে আড্ডা অনুষ্ঠানে। Now let's digress the issue. You are an American Bangladeshi Muslim living in the United States, and we hear a lot of different stories about what it's being like a Muslim in the United States. I'll come back to you on that, but first I want to hear from Sajid that what's your perception? You've never been to the United States, and so what do you think about being a Muslim and living in the United States?
Yeah, I heard different stories about that. They face some problems about for their jobs, because there's some discrimination in job sector or something. But I have many friends from United States. I have met them in other countries, in other conferences, and we have regular communication through Facebook. And from my personal viewpoint, I haven't faced this kind of problems because we stayed all together. We shared our experiences, our stories, and then you knew that I'm Muslim, but we haven't faced this kind of problem.
Religion was not a problem.
No, not a problem. But I think it comes to a point when it's extremist viewpoint of religion. Maybe then it's a big problem in United States.
So now I'll get back to you, Adnan Bhai. So we hear many stories, but then again there are a big number of Muslims living in the United States. So maybe you can share your experience.
I have had the fortune of living in different parts of the United States. I went for my university, my early years in university. I was in Texas. My master's was in California. I live in the Northwest in the city of Seattle now. And America is a massive country, right? And it's got 300 million people. And whenever you have that many people, you can't expect everyone to think the same thing and believe the same things, right? So I think there are differences, right? There are differences in opinion, beliefs, etc. But what I've found is, in general, people are very respectful, right? People are very respectful of others' beliefs, others.
In general, it's not about being a Muslim or a Hindu or a Christian.
Exactly. I think now, are the stories that you hear are they all made up? Probably not, right? But I don't think those small minority of stories should reflect the perception of a whole nation. I think that's unfair.
Now let's get back to our main topic, which was social entrepreneurship, social business. So how can the Bangladeshi youth be encouraged to participate in social entrepreneurship projects more?
I think the first and the most critical issue is for them to realize the power that they have, right? Bangladesh is mostly young people, right? Whatever they want, they can have. Whatever they want, they can have. And this is a great land, right? Like, if you think about it, Bangladesh's size হচ্ছে Wisconsin, state of Wisconsin. State of Wisconsin is less than 2% of America. Less than 2%. এই দেশ has half the population of the US. In a land that's the size of 2%, less than 2%. And this country, this land, feeds every one of those people. This is a pretty special place, right? This is the same land of the people, are, like, they work really, really hard, right? If you look at all the problems this country has had, well-documented problems, প্রতি বছর 6 to 7% growth rate. This is nothing but just a proof of how hardworking and enterprising people Bangladeshis are. And this is land of enterprising people. Right? There's no doubt about that. It's the same people who gave their life to defend a language. Nowhere in the world people do that. These people did that. And this is the same people, Jehane, there's a man who drives rickshaw for 20 years and he saves money every day to build a clinic in his village to help people. It's the same land, same people. So this is a very special place. And so if you look at a checklist of what do you need for progress, what do you need for change, what do you need for development, you have everything, right? I think the biggest thing that you can do is just believe, right, and move forward, right? And I think if the young people in this country can just take a control of their destiny and say, you know what, this is how we want to define Bangladesh to be 20 years from now. Not what happened the last 20 years, but we're going to define what's going to happen the next 20 years. Then I think you can do something probably ever unseen before. Something very, very special.
Thank you very much, Adnan bhai. Sunera, Sajid, any final thoughts?
Well, in Bangladesh now there are a number of youth organizations, so the youth of Bangladesh can contribute through these organizations, and they can also take initiatives by themselves to contribute to society, start their own social businesses and all. Yeah.
And yes, the youth, nowadays youths are more dedicated for their community and for a change, real change, to improve the livelihood of other person, and they're very dedicated and passionate about these things. And I hope in future more opportunities will come as a platform for us, and we will work together, we can work together unitedly for a real change.
Thank you everyone for coming to our show. It was great talking to you. I wish you luck for your projects, and hopefully, as you've mentioned, that Bangladesh youth, they have great potential, they will take the country forward. দর্শক, আজকের মতো বাংলাদেশের সাথে আড্ডা শেষ এখানেই। তবে পরের মাসে আবারও আসবো নতুন কোনো অতিথি নিয়ে, নতুন কোনো বিষয় আড্ডা দিতে। ভালো থাকবেন সবাই, আর দেশের সাথেই থাকুন।